Our outline for today, we're looking at variables, because we're looking at the Python, basic Python syntax. We're going to be looking at variables, data types, operators, data structures in Python. So those are what we're going to be doing. So since I've sent the slide, I believe some of us have the slides open, right? So I would start with.
Can you drop the slide for us? I didn't see. I joined late.
Okay, I'm going to. It's in the message. The link to the slides is in the call message. The link to the slide is in the comment section. So read through. You're going to see where I posted the link to the slide. Okay. So let's proceed, please. Now, variables. For most of us that have played around with some other programming languages, you must have heard variables before. But I'm assuming that most of us have not heard of variables before. So you are going to look at variable as a container, like a cup. Then you have a cup and then you pour water inside of it. That cup is a variable, right? Something that stores data is a variable, right? Now, the reason why it's called a variable is because it can change. So the data in that container can change. That's why it's called a variable. The opposite of a variable is constant, something that doesn't change, right? But because in the course of coding, we might want to change the data we stored in a variable. That's why we call it a variable. So just know that a variable stores data. It's like a container that stores data. Now, because we're working with Python, how do we now store these variables, right? So I will first save my file as class.py, right, on my desktop, and I'll save it. Okay. So how do we now? Please, you're seeing my my text editor open, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. So now, how do we declare variables in Python? Because in Python, variables are declared. You declare them. So how do we declare variables in Python? Now, in declaring variable, you start with the variable name, and then an assignment operator, and then the data. So the variable name comes first, the assignment operator comes second, and then the data type you're storing in that variable comes third. So I want to store a simple variable called name. So I want to store my name in a variable. I'll say name. Now, equality sign is the assignment operator we use in storing variable. I'll say name equals to, so I'm storing it as a text. I'll use quotation, my name, right? Now, by like this, I've stored my name in name. So each time, last time we talked about print statement. So it's a function in Python that helps us to print on screen. So I want to display what's in that variable. I'll do print parentheses. Then I'll call the variable name, and then close the parentheses, right? Now, if I run this code by this menu bar, if I run this code by clicking run module, right? Okay, I have to save it. Now you see that my name is shown in this console environment. So I stored my name in a variable called name, and then I printed that variable name. But what I saw was my name, because name is storing a data called my name. That's how you declare variables in Python. Depending on the kind of data you're storing, that is just the basic way. The variable name comes first, the assignment operator comes second, and then the data type comes third. Now, there are rules in naming variables in Python, right? You don't just name variable, use any names, because some variable names are inbuilt keywords in Python, so you can't use those. You can't use numbers as the start. So I can't do one name equals to my name. That would be wrong. This is not a way of naming variables, right? I can't name variables by spacing them. So I want to use a long name, like saying first name. I cannot say first space bar name and then declare the variable, say my name. I can't do that. I can't use print as a variable name because it's a default value it's a default function in Python. I can't use inputs. So there are keywords existing in Python that you use. So 3 ways of not naming variables is: 1, you don't use the Python default keywords to name variables. You don't start your variable names with numbers, and you don't use spacebar to separate variable names. Now, if you want to separate variable names without using spacebar, use underscore. So this is the best approach, best practice to naming variables if you have to use multiple names in naming your variables. Then the last thing is, in as much as it might not really pose much of a problem, it's wrong to use capital letters, uppercase, to name your variables. In Python, it's best practice to use lowercase in variable names. So in naming variables, it's best practice to use lowercase to name your variables. So that's it about variable naming or variables in Python. It's a very simple thing. Just know that if you're naming variables, you start with the variable name, which will not start with a number. You will not separate it with spacebar, and you should not use keywords existing in Python. And please don't use uppercase. So if you follow this convention, you start with choosing an arbitrary name for your variable name. Then what follows is an assignment operator. The equality sign is used to assign the data to the variable. Now, the last thing that follows is your actual data within your story in that variable. So that's it about variables. That's basically what variables are all about. Now, from our outline, we are going to look at, because by the time we are proceeding, we'll write some very interesting codes.
So sorry, can you just summarize those, the don'ts and the do's?
Okay, I'll summarize it again, but it's still in the slide, so you can read it up later. Now, if you're naming a variable, firstly,
can you share the link? I can't see that slide. Thank you.
Okay, let me do that real quick. Let me do that real quick. I've done that again. Please, if anybody has accessed the link to the slide, please just let me know so that I'll know we're on the same page. And if you've gotten the slide from the group chat, also indicate so that I would know that we're on the same page.
I've seen it.
All right, thank you. It's easy if you're using a mobile device or your browser, you can easily access this slide, provided you're connected to the internet. So let's proceed. All right. Okay. So now, all right. So let me continue. In naming your variables, let me start all over. Don't start your variable names with a number. Like, don't do 5 name or use a number to start your variable name. It's wrong. If you're going to use a number, it should come after you've named it. I can do name 5. This is the best approach. I can do name 5. Like this, it works. You won't have any issues. That's one. Secondly, don't use Python keywords. There are keywords in Python. Don't use those, like the print statements. Don't use print to name your variable, or use input or a var to name your variables. Those are existing functions or keywords in Python. You don't use that. The third thing is, you don't separate variable names with spacebar. You use underscore to separate variable names. That's best practice. And lastly, ensure you use lowercase in naming variables. Don't use uppercase for naming variables, because you might want to do something much later and then there'll be a conflict or something. So use lowercase to name variables, separate variables with spacebar, don't use numbers first, and don't use Python keywords. So that's it about variables. There's nothing so much in variable naming.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, sir.
Is there a place we can know the keywords of Python?
Okay, yeah, I will share a document after this class that has all the possible keywords.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, now proceeding to data types. I don't want to be sharing my slide because I want to be working. So I want you to see these things in action. So I'm assuming you have your slide open. So proceeding to data types. Now, Python has, generally all programming languages have data types. The same data types that exist in all programming languages exist in Python. So they have some data types. We have the integer data type. We have the string data type. We have the boolean. We have the mapping type. We have the complex type. We have the set type. We have binary type, and then we have the non-type data. So these are the data types. Okay, just so we are on the same page, I would open my slide now. Okay, so now these are some of the data types we have, and these are some of the data types we have in Python. Okay, the numeric types, the integer, the float, and the complex. We have the text type, which is strings. It's called string, but it's represented as str. We have sequence types, which is the list, the tuple, and the range. I will explaining them. We have the mapping type, which is the dictionary. We have the set type, which is set and frozen set. We have the Boolean type, which is represented as bool. We have the binary types, where we have byte array, memory view, and then we have the non-type. So I'm going to start with the text type, which is the string. So in Python, a text data is called a string. So if you want to display or input or output or print a text, it's represented as a string, right? If you want to output or input or manipulate a number, you can represent it as int, which is integer. You can represent it as float, which is, so integers are whole numbers, right? All whole numbers. We have floats, they are decimal numbers. And then we have complex numbers. They consist of both the real numbers and the imaginary numbers, the undefined numbers. Then we have the sequence type, which is the list. Now, the list is a data type that stores unordered list. So it's like it stores unordered items. So you have a data type, and then you have items in it that you can manipulate. You can take them out, you can change, you can just play around with them. That's a list. It's usually represented with a square bracket. And then we have the tuple. Now the tuple, you don't manipulate it. The difference is like a list, but the difference between the tuple and the list is that it's represented in parentheses. Then the mapping type is the dictionary. This consists of data. So you can have multiple sequence type in a dictionary. The difference is that it's represented as in curly braces. We'll see this much later. I'm just trying to briefly give us an overview. Then the set type is a data, like a set of data that you're looking at. Okay, this one is stored here and the other one is stored in that particular data. So you're just storing them in different sets. Then the Boolean type is a type of data where you have the true or the false, right? The true or the false. So the set type, like I said, is a collection of data, usually unordered, unlike the list, unlike the sequence type, it's unordered. It's just a collection of data that have like unique elements in them, such that you can look at one data and then you look at, oh, this one is different from this one by a particular element. That's what a set is. Then the Boolean type is basically true and false. So you're looking at if something happens, what result, if the result is printed as true or it's printed as false, then you're looking at the Boolean data type. Then the binary data type is the data that stores binary data, right? It just stores binary data like images, files, things that are not numbers or strings. So that's the binary data types. And then the non-type is the kind of data that stores null, that doesn't store any data. So there's nothing inside of it. Now, for the sake of this course, we will be playing around much more with the text type, the numeric type, and the sequence type. We might play around with the mapping type much later, but the most important ones we'll be looking at the text type, the numeric type, and the sequence type. Now, those are the data types in Python. Now, the reason why I talked about this first is because we will be playing around with them using our variables. So we'll be storing different types of variables in them. So I'm going to open up my editor and my IDE right now. So I talked about the string data type, which is text, basically text, and is stored as quotation. So I want to store a string data type, and that data type is like my first name. So I would say my first name equal to, now I would use quotation to store it. Now using quotation tells Python that, oh, this is a text. So it's going to print a text. I'm going to say my first name is first name, right? First name. So I'll take out this part so it doesn't.
Wait, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed you using two different pages, idle and editor. How do you get to the editor?
Okay. It's a Windows thing. Just if you're on Windows 11, right? If you're on Windows 11, put your, are you seeing my cursor, my mouse cursor? So go to the minimize button here. You're going to be presented with a tab view. So you're going to see different tabs. So you can choose which one to display side by side. So that's how I do it. Okay. So now I have my first data type, which is the string, and I want to display it in my console. So I'm going to use the print statement, which we talked about on Tuesday. And then now I'm going to display that variable name, not the data type. So I'll type print first name. Now, by the time I run this code, remember to always save and run. You can run using F5. So if I run this code, I'm presented with first name, which is a text data on my shell. This is where I see my results in my console environment. So that's the first data type. Now, the second data type is the integer or the numeric type, which is integer, float, and complex data types. So I want to view an integer. I would start with, say, first number or whole number. So I call the variable name whole number, right? Whole number. Remember to always use equality sign as your assignment operator. Now in text data type, numeric data type, which is the integer, you don't use quotation. You just outrightly type the number you want. So if I say 35, Python recognizes this as a number. So when I print whole number, right? And I save, and then I run. It prints 35 here for me. Here, I see 35. Now, I'm looking at the next data. I want to print a, say, a complex number. I want to print a complex number. I will declare the variable first. Let's say num. Let me just call it num and equal to. Let's say the complex number is say 2 plus 4g. So this is how you present complex numbers. So I've declared this variable already. Now I want to print this. Now it becomes very tricky here, right? In printing complex number, you want to print the real part and the imaginary part. So there is a method that exists in a function that exists in Python that allows you to print real numbers or imaginary numbers, which is the real and the image. So if I do something like this, print, let me say num dot real, right? Okay, and then I say print num dot image, right? Then I save and run. I should see both the real part and the imaginary part here. So now that's how you declare complex numbers in Python. That's how you display complex numbers. So I can now see the real part and the imaginary part. Now the next data type is the sequence type. Let's look at the sequence type, which is the list, the tuple, and the dictionary for the mapping type. Now for the list, the most important thing is the list. So we're working with the list a lot. So I'll look at, let me say my list. Let me call it my list. Right, and then I would say, now I said the list is represented using square brackets. So I'll start with my square brackets, right? And then now the list has items. I can put numbers, I can put names in that list. Let's say, for example, I want to put all the names of the fruits I have or the names of the items I went to buy in the market. So I'll do my list. I'll start with the first item. Let's say apple. And then I would separate it with a comma. Very important. This is how you separate data types using comma. The next one is say banana. Then let's say 56, comma. Okay, let's end here. So yeah, so this is my list. Now by the time I print my list and save, if I run it, I should have this list in my console. So if you follow this convention, you won't get an error. You will get all this. Now let's try something against our practice. So let's say the first name, okay, let's try this. Let's say this. Let's see. Okay. All right. Now this should work. So if I save this and then I run module, what can we see? We can see invalid decimal literal, right? And then the first line has been highlighted, which means that there's something wrong. Now I used 1 before. So the fact that I used a number in declaring my variable gives me an error. So it's bad practice. So I would remove it. Now, if I run this code again correctly, I'm still faced with another error. Unterminated string literal. Now, in my list here, the number of quotation I have, the number of quotes I have is not complete. I did not add quotes to this apple. Because it's a string, it should be in quotes. Now, if I run this code again, I have another error, invalid syntax. So in my second code here, I use spacebar to separate the variable whole number, which is why I'm getting the error. So if I use something else like an underscore, which is best practice, to separate it, I should now get my code working completely. So this is, so it now works. So these are some of the flaws the errors you can encounter in Python if you make these mistakes. So that's it for data types. We have looked at variables.
Can I ask a question, sir?
Okay, all right.
Why did you put 56 there on your list?
Okay, yeah. So I said a list has items, right? It's an unordered set of items. So those items can be text, that is strings. Those items can be numbers. Those items can be boolean. So it can be any data type in your list. So I'm trying to play around with a lot of things. So here I've put apple, I've put banana, and then I've put maybe a generic number, right? So I'm trying to show you how many data types can be put in a list. I don't know if you understand. So 56 is a data type, which is a number, right?
Okay.
Banana is a string, which is a data type, which is a string. So that's why.
It's clear, it's clear.
All right, thank you. So that's it for variable and variable naming with data types. So we are going to go on a 2 minutes break, and then when we come back, yes.
I'm still having issue having the editor, but I know you can do this directly on the idle part. But
Yes,
how do you get the editor?
The editor, go to file. In your idle, go to file. You're going to see new file. If you click on new file or control N, a new editor will pop up like this. All right.
Okay, I can see that now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So we're going to go on a 2 minutes break, and then when we come back, we'll ask some questions and answer some questions and write more interesting code. We'll play around with more complex code. All right, welcome back. Sorry, I had to cut us short because of our time so we can write more interesting codes. I hope that's okay with us. I hope nobody's offended by that I cut your break short. Okay, so what we've done, we are now going to write some codes, right? Just do some interesting things for variables and data types, right? But I'm going to be talking about some things that I have not mentioned, which is important for you to note. Some important functions in Python that you should know so that you follow along with me. So let me open my slide. So we have variables, data types, data structures, simple input and output. So it's very important we understand the simple input and outputs and the Python operators before we begin to write these codes, right? So, but before that, let's let's do something fun. Okay, I'm going to clear my editor now. All right, I'm going to clear my editor. And I want to start with a simple task. Right. Now, this simple task is that,
Just going.
can you see my screen? Okay, let me
No.
share my,
No, you can't see it. It seems like you are not sharing anymore.
No, you cannot.
can you see now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, yes.
All
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
Okay. So let's start with what we've done in variables and data types. We're going to play around with a little code. Now, this particular code or this particular program is supposed to help us say kind of create a story, right? Request our users to create a story. So that's the objective of this particular project. Please mute your mic. Okay, let's proceed. So this particular project, we want to create a story. So we want our users to give us an input, and then we will tell them we'll give them the story that they want. So now the story is that we want our users to tell us about an animal that they want, then the place where the animal exists and the color of the animal, and then we tell them that, oh, we tell them a story about the animal. So that's what we want to do. So before we proceed, I want to mention something very important. Although you're going to see in the slide when you read, there is something called the input function. It's a very important function in Python. So take note of it, input function. So it helps to request data from your user. And then we have the print function. And there's something again I need to mention called concatenation. Now, concatenation works in such a way that you add two strings together. That's the way concatenation works, or you add two data types together. When you want to merge two data types together, you use concatenation. And in using concatenation, you use the addition operator for concatenation. So as we're writing the code, you're going to see these in action. Okay, let's continue. So we want our users to give us the name of their animal, right? So I'm going to start with creating a variable called animal. Animal, right? So animal, okay? And then I will request them to impute. So I'm going to use the impute function. So I'll say impute, right? Parentheses. So inside that string, I want them to enter the name of the animal. I'll say enter the name of your animal, right? Okay. Now this is it. And then I'll close with my parentheses. Okay. Then I want them to also give me the place where the animal resides. Okay, I would say create a variable called place. And then I'll tell them to use the input, say input, enter the place of your animal, right? Okay. And then I want them to also give me the color of the animal. So I'll use a variable name called color. I'll say input, enter the color of the animal, right? Okay. All right, so that's it. Now we've created three variables that we want. These are things that can change, right? So that's what we want from.
So is there any major difference between the single parentheses?
No, there's no difference. They both help us to know a string. The difference is that if you're using a single parenthesis, is it quotation or parenthesis you want? You're asking about?
I mean, I'm asking of parentheses, the double and single.
I think
Or
that's
quotation, sorry.
Quotation, yes.
Quotation.
Yeah, let me quickly explain that. Now, the way the quotation works is this. If you're using single quotation, ensure you finish with a single quotation. If you're using double quotation, ensure you finish with a double quotation, right? That's it. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is you're going to use a quotation in a quotation. So if I want to quote something inside this quotation, I should not use a double quotation. I'm supposed to use a single quotation. So I'll do this, right? So those are the two different. Can you see my code? So if you're using single and
Please,
double,
why is there a semicolon and a space before the last double quotation?
okay, that's how I want. That's how I want it to be formatted. That's when I run the code, you're going to see why I did it. I'll just explain that. It's what I want. You can decide to not put it. It's part of the whole text you want your user to read. Okay, so now let's start. I now want something. I want to create a story for them. I'll start with the print statement. Print, let's see, okay, print, I'll say my story, right? I would, okay. My story, that's the first thing I want. And then I'll print, now this is the main story. Now the story is this. I'll start with this, with my, now this is where concatenation works. So I would say I'll use the plus sign for concatenation plus. Then now the variable name, animal. Then another plus. I would say I'll use something like this is in, I would say this. Then I'll use the place that the person puts the variable name, and then I'll continue with concatenation. Then I would say maybe the color that they want, and say has then the color that they want, I'll concatenate color, and then the last part I'll use this. Can we still hear me?
Yes, we're hearing
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I had an issue with my microphone.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so now we have that. So we've done for the color, and let's do this color. Okay, so now this is what we have, right? So now if I run this code, I'll save it, and then I run. Now, if you look at my my shell, you're going to see enter the name of your animal. Now, the person that asked me about the colon, you see why I use the colon? Is how I want my users to read it. I want them to see that there's a colon there. So I can decide not to put it. So I want to enter the name of my animal. I would say my animal is it's a dog. Okay. Hold on. So let me run this again. I'll break this. Let's run this. Okay, I want to enter the name of my animal, dog, and then I want to enter the color of the place where the animal is. I would say Aba, okay, or Nigeria. And then I need to enter the color of the animal. I'll say it's black. Now, when I hit enter, you're going to see my story. My dog is in Nigeria and has a black color. So now this is what the input statement does. It requests information from users and prints that result for them. So that's a simple way for us to declare variable and choose the kind of data we want.
Sir,
So, okay.
you said we shouldn't use uppercase in variables.
Yes.
I can see you are writing enter with the uppercase there, or the one in the bracket doesn't matter.
Okay, let me. Okay, thank you.
Because
Let
I
me.
see animal is lowercase. When you
Yeah.
enter the input function, I see enter there, starting with an uppercase.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your question. Now the thing is, this animal. This is the variable. I said we have variable name first, the assignment operator second, and then the data we want third. So our variable name here is animal, which is small letter. Now, the enter is not a variable name. It's the data we want. So the data can be anything. So it's a string. I don't know if you understand. It's not the variable name. So all
Okay.
variable names here are in small letters. All the animal, place, and colors, they are all in small letters. But every other thing outside that is our data.
Okay. That's clear.
Yeah, thank you. So we've actually run out
Sorry.
of time. So I'll be taking questions based on what we've done.
I have a question.
Okay.
When you printed it, my dog is in Nigeria and has a black color. The dog
Yes.
is Nigeria and black color. There's no space between them. So I don't know. How do I correct that? Just like in your own too.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can do that by using the space bar. So here now, I can do this. Let me space bar. I can do this space bar, and then I will do this space bar, and then I'll save and then run. So I'll use goats now, and then I'll do the place is say Ghana, and then I would say red. So can you see it now? It's formatted properly. So there was no
Yes,
space
I
bar
can see
between
it now.
quotation and the is. So
Okay.
that's it. Yeah. Any other question? Any other question?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I try running my own. Is my the last line, the print is showing me
Yes.
expression cannot contain assignment. Perhaps you meant in parentheses equal question mark.
Okay. What was your last line of? Okay, can you type in your code, what you typed in the comment section so that I will see it? Okay, so please drop your questions in the comment section so that I'll attend, and in the group so that I'll attend to it. So our time is up. Further questions should be sent to the group chat. So the next class, which is for data analysis, starts by 8, which has already started. So I'll just take one more question and then we can call it a day.
I've dropped it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the problem is after the animals, you should not have an equality sign. It should be a plus. That was your mistake. Before the next string, there's an equality sign. They change it to addition operator. That's why. This here.
Okay, the equality. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
the reason. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would send the slide. I'll send the slide to you'll be added to the group chat and then I'll drop the slides there. So we've been able to look at variable declaration in Python. We've been able to look at the data types in Python and how to play around with the input function and the print function and how to print a simple thing in our console environment. So that's it. When we meet again, we'll write more complex code and look at data structures and how to play with functions and operators. One more time, let's give a shout out to Professor Bourdillon Omijeh for this opportunity, and don't forget to follow us on our social media handles and drop your comments and your likes. If you have any question, when you're added to the group chat, please ask your questions. I attend to questions there very often. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
please add me. Please add me to the group chat.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
So how will you know all of us now to add now, please?
Hello.
If you registered, okay,
Hello?
I'll drop the general group link
Hello?
now. It's in call comment. Yes.
Please, can you share
Can
your
we get
screen?
your phone
You're
number?
working on.
Okay, I'm dropping the group link now on the comment section now so that we can all join the group. I'm doing that now.
Okay, sir. And also, if you can help us with the small code, also, it's going to be helpful.
Yes, in the group, I'll be sending code practices too. So this is the link to join the group chat. So you can all join. I'll drop all the materials. Any question you have, I'll attend to.
Hello, sir. Is this link for data analysis or for general group?
This is for Python programming.
It's okay. It's okay. All right.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Please remove your companion mode.
Hello.